Hi, I'm Dr. Kurt Wohler for Sunrise Functional Medicine. The title of this short video is Melatonin Reset and Jet Lag. So here is our disclaimer, understanding that this information is for educational purposes only. So one of the things that happens obviously when we travel, particularly by airplane, if it's a short distance, it's really not a major problem. But if you're making long distance travel, particularly overseas, we know that jet lag can be, quite a problem, can certainly interfere with your trip or, whatever your purpose of your trip was for leisure, business, seeing family, etc. So a couple things here are worthwhile implementing when you get to your destination, even if it's just traveling from, across the United States, whether it's East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, these things can still be helpful. It doesn't have to be international travel. So first thing is try to get some sunlight exposure throughout your arrival day and on subsequent days on your trip, and do that consistently. Obviously, if it's raining or cloudy weather, you're not going to get a lot of sunshine, but still get outside. So one of the things that happens with natural sunlight exposure is it helps to reset proper melatonin signaling from the pineal gland. So remember, melatonin gets produced from the pineal gland. It essentially is like the molecular equivalency to darkness. So we want to try and reset that melatonin circadian rhythm as much as we can control. The other thing to try to do is avoid wearing sunglasses if possible. Wearing a hat is generally okay, but on those days that you're out, particularly the first few days when you get to your arrival destination, try to avoid sunglasses as much as possible. Wearing a hat's fine, just to get natural sunlight into the eyes. Also, get some type of physical activity, or do some type of physical activity, particularly on the arrival day and days following. Don't just sit around. Get out, go for a walk, a bike ride, whatever. That exercise helps to build up what's called sleep stress, and so that also can have a beneficial influence on your ability to sleep and get over jet lag. Now, if needed to maintain wakefulness, particularly that arrival day, if you arrive in the morning, for example, or a few days afterwards, having some caffeine in the form of coffee or some caffeinated tea, maybe an energy drink. I'm not a huge advocate of those, but I think you get the point. Particularly early in the morning or mid-morning, early afternoon may be advantageous. You want to try to avoid caffeine, obviously, late in the day or early in the evening because it can interrupt sleep. But caffeine can stay active for about 4 to 6 hours, depending on individual metabolism. So generally, earlier in the day is best for caffeine consumption. A couple other things to consider is avoid blue light sources, particularly after sunset. So if you're back at your place of residence, your Airbnb, or a hotel, whatever, after sunset, trying to stay off your computer. Television screens can be a problem too, smartphones, tablets. So trying to avoid those things as much as possible. I get it. If you're in your hotel room watching TV, that's kind of one thing, but trying to eliminate as much of these blue light source devices as much as possible. What happens is blue light tricks the brain into actually thinking it needs to shut down melatonin production. And then, as tolerated, dosing anywhere between 5 milligrams to 20 milligrams of a liposomal melatonin around 9 to 10 p.m. local time of wherever you are, or about an hour before desired bedtime, can be advantageous. So supplemental melatonin does not inhibit natural production of melatonin, but high doses in some individuals may trigger vivid dreams, for example, or sometimes morning grogginess if it's taken too late in the evening. So you don't want to necessarily take melatonin at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you're taking a serotonin reuptake inhibitor medication like Prozac, then using higher doses of melatonin is generally best avoided. And so, again, this information is for educational purposes only. If you've had some sensitivity to melatonin, that's a conversation you always want to have with your personal doctor. An additional option to help build up some tolerance to melatonin, because it can cause sedation or grogginess, is to start using it maybe a few days or a week prior to travel, just so your body kind of gets used to using or accessing, supplemental melatonin. Sometimes that could be helpful when you start using melatonin upon your arrival destination. So for more information about our consulting practice, which is Sunrise Functional Medicine, you can go to mysunrisecenter.com. There's our email, scmedicalcenter@gmail.com, our phone number as well. So again, I'm Dr. Kurt Wohler for Sunrise Functional Medicine. Thanks.